Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Zero Gaming here, and let's talk about another episode of the Still Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, where we will be going through the newest LD that we will be getting in the upcoming banner, which is Rem, and of course my boy Seifer returning with his LD as well. So we're starting off with Seifer first. Seifer doesn't get too much of an upgrade besides his attack having more HP attack. His LD now does a 6 AoE split HP attack, with now providing 1 free skill after using his LD. So more longevity, I guess. His skill 1 does a 3 single target HP attack, and with a 50% splash. His skill 2 is a 4 AoE split HP attack. His EX with the Crystal Level 90 upgrade now does a 5 single target HP attack with a 50% splash, and improve his EX buff, now providing extra 20% attack up, overflow up, as well as HP damage up. His additional ability also get an upgrade with the buff effect extended to 6 turn. It now provides himself a 30% attack up and a 30% self brave damage cap up. It also applies a 4 turn 60% defense down to the entire enemy right now instead of 40%. Note that this additional ability, when using it, also triggers follow-up attack for those who never used Seifer before. Okay, so Seifer, essentially what I will mention about him is he's a delayer, which cripples the boss with a lot of good debuff. If you haven't used Seifer before, his EX debuff actually allows the enemy to deal 0 bravery damage, which can come in really clutch in certain situations. He has a lot of debuff in his kit as well. He has defense down, he has brave gain down, he has sap, he has speed down, he has max bravery down, and of course he has attack down. And his armor is actually tactics keystone, which means more stacks downs with Seifer being in the party itself. So my opinion on Seifer is he's a very good delayer, but as a delayer himself, he's not enough to zero boss turn the stage if you did not bring another turn manipulator like Rem or maybe like Garland. So Seifer himself is not enough if you're just gonna zero boss turn this stage, but with his EX, even if you let the enemy get some turns, it's not really too big of an issue, since Seifer, like I said, he does cripple the boss. He's plenty self-sufficient. Actually, this is the surprising part about Seifer. He's actually dealing very good damage before, and he's gonna do a lot more damage now because of his self-sufficient debuff and buff itself. Seifer also helps enables DPS because of the debuff that he applied, which total up to 100% defense down to the entire enemy. So that part itself is also very surprisingly awesome. His EX is actually very unique, like I mentioned before. It allows the enemy to deal 0 brave damage, so in a situation where the enemies actually use their attack off turn, for example if they are triggering their orb attack, or if they are just using an attack when they reach a certain HP threshold, it allows you to mitigate that attack with his EX debuff alone. Also, do note that Seifer is the only unit that has 2 AoE delays in both of his base and LD call ability. For most units, their delays only lies either on 1 call, or at least something like Quistis have 2 delays as well, but Quistis delays the entire enemy with her LD ability, but only a single target with her base call. So if I would say that Seifer is actually very handy as a call ability as well, especially when you're running solo content. As for pairing Seifer with the right unit, okay, so for delayers it's actually quite simple. First of all, they are very good with launchers because they can create the maximum space for the launchers to deal maximum damage. Also, if you have more turns for Seifer himself, he can actually delays even more, like I mentioned before, since you can manipulate your turn instead of the enemy's turn to let Seifer get more turn with units like Rem or Aphmau, so he can apply the delay even more, like for example the Aphmau and Sync combo that we used previously. That could work as well with Seifer. And lastly, since Seifer himself enables even more DPS, you can actually run even more turn manipulators himself that delays the enemy in their own form of way, for example Garland or Tidus with his rebreak mechanism. A very good side note to note for is Seifer is also ranged attacker, so working with Tidus means that they can abuse front call with the both of them being ranged attacker. Do also understand that Seifer doesn't need no brave game out in his kit because he doesn't actually have any brave game in his kit. He relies a lot on brave damage up, so you might want to pump that up if you want him to deal the maximum damage. Alright, moving on, it will be Rem, which will be getting her new LD here. So Rem's skill 1 and skill 2 doesn't get too big of an upgrade, but it's actually really good with her kit. I'll be explaining why with her LD later down the line. Her skill 1 is now an instant free turn skill, and it heals and batteries the entire party rather than the selected unit instead. Her skill 2 also get a minimal rework with now it increased the allies EX recage scout by 20% every time you use it on a certain unit itself. So this is actually quite nice because considering the fact that Rem's skill 2 actually always hinders the EX ability of a certain character, since her bringing their turn forward actually allows them to need more time to recharge their EX. But right now her skill 2 itself also help in recharging the EX gauge. It actually make her turn swapping a lot more desirable. So Rem gain an LD which does a 4 AoE split HP attack, and it provides free skills for the entire party on their next turn. It also batteries the entire party and provides Rem 10 turns of her LD buff, which now provides a 20% party attack up, 20% party brave gain up, 20% party overflow up, and as well as HP damage up. The LD buff also allows Rem to trigger her follow-up attack after her own turn. So her follow-up attack is as follows. It does a 2 AoE split HP attack, it batteries the entire party, and it grants a buff to the next turn ally. So if you're using her skill 2 on a certain ally, this buff will be granted on that ally that you selected for the turn to be swapped in. This buff provides a 50% brave damage up, a 20% HP damage up, and a 30% max bravery floor. Do know that this buff cannot be extended, and when using it in BT phase, it will be removed after one action within the BT phase itself. So you can't actually abuse it in your BT phase with your party instead. Regardless, still, Rem is actually really powerful with this follow-up attack. Since it follow-ups in every action that Rems provide, it also will be triggered when Rem uses her skill 1, which is instant free turn, her skill 2, which also increase Rem speed herself, as well as her additional ability and her EX, which also triggers this follow-up attack. Of course, her LD does the same. So Rem essentially will be triggering this attack a lot of times, and she will not be having those wasted turn anymore that we mentioned before, where Rem turn is always used to just swap the other members' turn in. Right now she does more than that. So her EX with her Crystal level 90 upgrade now does a 2 full AoE HP attack, but other than that it's not too much of a rework. Her additional ability now provides extended her buff for 7 turns, which batteries the entire party and provides a 10% party brave gain up and gain overflow up, as well as a 20% party stolen overflow up. So Rem's armor is actually support armor, which increase the party brave damage and HP damage cap up, which is quite nice considering that she does battery the party a lot, so they will be hitting their max bravery cap most of the time. So essentially my idea on Rem is that she's just really good. Her turn swapping mechanism is actually very unique. There's not a lot of unit that has this capability. I know Afmao does have it, but I can't remember who else has similar turn swapping mechanism. Layla does have it, but Layla's is a little bit different since it triggers during her counter. Rem also does have very good auras, but her auras are more catered for brave gain up instead of brave damage up. For brave damage up, she does have it, but it's only at that 1 turn buff where it applies on the unit that move after Rem's turn. So depending on the team or the unit that you're running her with, this brave damage up might not be too reliable. She does have a very good party-wide free ability, which only Onion Knight and her have it right now. This actually can help a lot of unit that I will be mentioning later. Her heals, her turn manipulating, and her batteries are also very powerful. She does have the burst heal and burst battery on demand, so that part itself is actually really good to run Rem with if you're relying her to support your entire party. She can also be a very mini turn hogger, but a slightly little bit different than most turn hogger that we're used to, since her turn hogging relies on her using her skill 1 and her additional ability, and her skill 2 does provide the speed up, but Rem doesn't triggers any attack besides her follow up in this turn hogging, so it only will abuse follow-up attack such as Garnet, but it will not trigger follow-up attacks such as Core, such as Cisne, so you might want to run her with the right unit. But the best part about Rem's upgrade is actually her follow-up ability. This makes, like I mentioned before, Rem's having no wasted turn. She can use her skill 1 and skill 2 at will right now without having to worry that she will not do anything with those skills itself aside from providing the utility that they have. So I say that part is the best part about having Rem. I'm really glad for once that they actually maintain her utility with a follow-up attack that actually makes her a lot more decent, because I always like Rem's utility. I just think that she needs slightly tweak in her kit, and this upgrade is exactly what she needed. To be honest, this is one of the upgrades that I actually think that is done very justifiable. It takes what she's already good at, but applies it with a little bit more kit in it to make her more relevant in this current era. So Rem's best friend is actually, Rem is actually very flexible in running with a lot of unit, since, to be honest, who doesn't love more turns? We have units like Delayers, we have Garland, we have Quistis, we have Seifer, which benefits a lot from them having more turns, even if you're just spamming that skill itself, since more turns meaning more delays, meaning the enemies wouldn't get any turns in, so you can just abuse that fact itself. And of course, with her follow-up attack, you always want to swap her in with damage dealers as well. For example, Struggle, or for example Snow, or even better Yuri, because he requires more turns to increase his stack for his trap attack. And of course, you can always replace her with Afmal to be Sid Rain's new best friend, since she has more swap skill in her kit, but do remember that she doesn't give free turns to Sid Rain's skill itself, so Sid Rain still will be using that turn and it will be counted as using a turn, unlike Afmal, which doesn't increase the turn count in that sense. Of course, I run Rem the first time with Gilgamesh because Gilgamesh always have a lot of utility when you give him more turns, aside from the fact that he might trigger the Lufenia op. But having that utility fully abused with Rem, and Greg himself also has turn manipulating and swapping in his kit, which make him very ideal with Rem. And Rem, like I mentioned, she's a Brave Gain Up aura unit. So Brave Gain Up means that she's gonna have more fun with unit like Machina, like Vaughn, like Selfie, which relies a lot on Brave Gain Up to do a lot of damage. Machina himself is actually going to be a lot more useful with Rem, being the fact that instead of having to burst down with his burst effect, the second burst damage can also be abused with HP attack with Rems in the party, since even though it delays the Machina's turn, Rem can just swap him back in for him to apply his HP attack again. So yes, I think Machina and Rem is going to be a very good partner together. I mean, there already is in their original game. They're gonna be a lot better as well in this game itself. And of course, the free ability that she provides with her LD to the entire party is also really good. You can pair her with units that need that kit itself, like Onion Knight with his Ice Enchant, or Paladin Sassel with his OV Enchant, or even Cyan to build up his stack with his additional ability so that he can use his LD more often. So I won't say that this unit works really bad with Rem. They're just very counterproductive with what she provides. So essentially, she's very good with on-turn damage dealer because she gave them more turns to deal damage. And inversely, she's going to be really bad, or I wouldn't say really bad, just not really good with counter units since they relies on more often damage. And similarly, she will not be exactly too awesome with turn hoggers, with the fact that her turn swapping mechanism provides a one turn very good buff, and turn hoggers with just not being able to abuse that buff as much as other units like the one I mentioned in the more damage section, like Struggle, Snow, etc. So that is one thing to consider. All in all, I think that this banner is actually very good. Both Rem and Seifer are very powerful unit, and they can actually help whether or not you are a veteran or a new player. If you do not have Seifer, I even think that this banner itself is gem worthy because of how unique the mechanism that Rem and Seifer provides to the entire team composition. So if you ask me, yes, I would definitely pull for Rem. since she's waifu and she's also really good. And my alternate account, I might go for them, but if I want to spice things up and be more unique and different than my main account, maybe I'll just skip this banner. But we'll see how it goes. For now, I really enjoy using Seifer a lot before his Crystal level 90. I'm pretty sure that I will enjoy him even more with this upgrade. Seifer actually comes in clutch in a lot of situations for me during my Lufenia and Lufenia Plus era. Though you don't really need any specific unit in this era itself, but Seifer is actually really good. I would recommend going for him. So what about you guys? Are you guys really going for this banner or are you guys skipping? I think most of the community is actually going for the banner purely because of Rem instead of Seifer. But I do recommend picking out Seifer if you still doesn't have him because he's still just really good. But let me know down in the comments whether you're pulling for him, her, or both of them. I hope you enjoy my content, and if you do, please consider subscribing to my channel and like the video. It does help a lot with the channel. And again guys, thank you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with Rem's intersecting will. Alright, cheers guys.